That was Speaker of the House Paul Ryan last July talking about people who mishandle classified information. He was actually talking about Secretary Hillary Clinton. Karen Travers, never a dull moment in your world, White House correspondent with ABC News. Good morning.
Good morning.
So the White House, explain this, because this is probably the crux of the story. The Washington Post reports that Donald Trump shared classified information. The White House denied it, but the White House denied something the Washington Post didn't accuse them of doing.
That's a good way of summarizing it. So the Washington Post has this report that the president shared highly classified intelligence with the Russians during the Oval Office meeting last week. The White House reaction was swift and fierce and said that the story was false. And there was an emphasis from White House officials on the record saying that at no time were intelligence sources or methods discussed. But the Post didn't say that the president did discuss sources and methods. The New York Times, which followed up with it, with a similar story, also didn't say that. Just that the president could expose the source of the information and the methods collected, and that Russia could figure it out on its own and then potentially disrupt the allies' intelligence efforts. And where this is an issue is it's not illegal. The president can declassify information, but this could put in jeopardy a very critical intelligence sharing operation that the U.S. got this information from an ally in the region in strict confidence and should not have passed it on to the Russians because it was considered so sensitive.
Karen Travers, there was only 3 or 4 people in the room, closest to advisors. Mm-hmm. How did this leak out?
That's not clear. We don't have reporting on that yet, and I don't want to speculate.
All right. This morning, Donald Trump is tweeting saying he had a right to share with Russia. What's the backstory there? Do we know anything about that? Is he admitting that he did this?
Yeah, now the president this morning essentially saying that the Post story is correct, despite the White House last night saying the Post story was false. The president said he has an absolute right to share information, which he does, and he said it was related to terrorism and airline flight safety. He said he did it for humanitarian reasons, and he wants Russia to step up its fight against ISIS. So just like we saw last week with the Comey firing, the White House sends out spokespeople to give a version of the reasoning or explanation for it, and then the president contradicts it.
Republicans are breaking with the president, are they not?
Republicans last night on Capitol Hill, not as strong as Democrats, no surprise, but words like shocking and troubling and disturbing, that's coming from Republicans in the Senate.
Tell us, Karen Travers, what was it like around the White House and in the press room yesterday when all this broke loose?
Yeah, it was pretty chaotic. I mean, this was the White House scrambling to put out statements on this, and the 3 initial statements on the record all use the word false, saying that reporting is incorrect. Again, that emphasis, though, on sources and methods, something that was not alleged in the piece. Later, you saw National Security Advisor H.R. McMaster come out and speak in person on the record. Didn't take any questions, but it's notable that he's actually going to be at the White House briefing today, previously scheduled, because the White House is going to tee up the foreign trip that begins on Friday.
Yeah, and is the White House, I can only assume that the White House is going to have to answer more questions on this today.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, this is going to be quite an incredible briefing, I would think. And the White House now has to explain how they said one thing yesterday and the president says another, and just what the potential risks are here.
Karen Travers, we'll let you go. ABC News White House correspondent. Thanks, Karen.
Thank you.
724 here, Big 550.